read this book when you're calm, when you're light, and because it does say the troubled girls. She wasn't kidding. Here's an example of doing what I like. It's a book review video, but here's a bunch of crystals. So hopefully they provide you some good energy. The journey is very, very interesting, and this character is always questioning things. A fantasy novel, and it's also about feminism. I don't necessarily think it is a feminist's fantasy, although it might be. But judging by the last few chapters, that was pretty intense. Hey guys, welcome to Zephyr's Book Reviews, and for my first video, I'm making a review about the book The Troubled Girls of Dragomir Academy by Anne Ursu. At least I think it's Ursu based on the U. It might be Ursu, it might be Ursu, it could be anything, and I hope to learn how to pronounce her name eventually, maybe even talk to her. This is a very fantastic book, but let me not use crazy adjectives, but let me actually tell you why. So first of all, this is for ages 8 to 12, but the reason I bought it is because I wanted to get a sense for what's out there in terms of the books that are available for children. Let's start with the fact that I was a little shocked actually at this book. It's one of the most interesting books I've ever read, in the sense that the subject matter was pretty serious, as it says on the back, a wonderful and inspiring feminist fantasy. And this part, feminist, usually when I see that word I just go like, whatever. But when I read this, it really blew my mind as to how she has used really serious concepts about life and men and women and put them into a book like this. And apparently it's for ages 8 to 12. I'm not sure what it was about it, but some of those parts where they talk about the feminist stuff or they question men inside this book, it really made me puke. Not in a bad way. Well, puking is bad, but it made me very uncomfortable. And I think that's a great thing actually, because when you rock your sort of understanding of life and society mentally and psychologically, and I do have familiarity with that because I'm a life coach, you can get a little uncomfortable. And that's what one of my friends, who I can't say what he does, but he fights injustice on the planet, he would call that cognitive dissonance, where your idea of reality is one thing and then you get fed another picture here and then you go a little crazy because you don't know what to believe anymore. And I'm not sure if it was because I was reading this book while I was unwell, which is what I usually do. I look to books for comfort, because what else can you do when you're lying on the bed, right? Other than watch Netflix or read a book. And so I'm not sure if that's what it was, or it was this feminist bit over here, but it really rocked my world, where they really confront old ideologies and really bring new ideologies to the fore. Now that's all the psychological part. Let's just have a look at the book itself. And the actual story. She's got that word spot on, the troubled girls, because I felt very troubled when I read this book. I'm not sure if that was because I was sick or if because she's a skilled writer, probably both. But she's definitely a very skilled writer, and it can take you places. And I feel like this illustration, of the purple helix going around this sort of golden illuminated tower and the golden handwriting, these are very spiritual colors, purple and gold. Purple for the crown chakra, and that's why I got this amethyst crystal over here, which my wife picked up in Sydney. 5:55 as the timestamp across the video when I said that, in the recording at least. So it was very spiritual, it looked very spiritual. I thought it's a book about magic and so on, which it is, and so I bought it. So on the back cover, you can read it along, we can read it together. It says, "If no one notices Maria Lupu, it's likely because of her brother Luca, and that's because of what everyone knows. Luca is destined to become a sorcerer. For all the hopes the family has for Luca, no one has any for Maria, who can never seem to do anything right. But even so, no one is prepared for the day that the sorcerers finally arrive to test Luca for magical ability, and Maria makes a terrible mistake. Nor the day after, when the Lupus receive a letter from Dragomir Academy, a mysterious school for wayward young girls. Soon, Maria is 100 miles from home, in a strange and unfamiliar place, surrounded by girls she's never met. Dragomir Academy promises Maria and her classmates a chance to make something of themselves, but as they learn how to fit into a world with no place for them, they begin to discover things about the magic the men of their country wield, things that threaten the precarious balance upon which their country is built. Right, and this is a very nice font. I forget what it is, but it looks close to Times New Roman or something similar. I use this kind of font on my Instagram as well. I know you can pick something similar on Instagram for the stories. It's cool. And it was published by Walden Pond Press. The cover art was 2021, so it's not a very old book, by James Finhaber. Cover design by David DeWitt. And I bought it at Kinokuniya, which is maybe the biggest bookstore in Singapore. At the rate the world is going digitally, maybe the only bookstore in Singapore, I'm not sure, but it's my favorite hangout. $13.86 Singapore cents. Did I just say $13.86 Singapore cents? I meant $13.86 in Singaporean currency. Anyway, however you want to say it. Now, as for the pages themselves, this book is about 7 to 8 months old, and as you can see, the pages are already turning yellow at the sides. They're turning a little yellow on the sides, but inside they are still pretty white compared to the sides. And I like this kind of book. This is that kind of typical paper book where over the ages this whole thing's going to get really brown, so it looks like a book. As for me, I like to read not opening more than an angle like this. So if I'm reading this side of the page, the book is at this angle, and I'm reading this side of the page, the book is at this angle. The good news about that is that in the end you get no marks on the spine. So when you put it in a bookshelf, it actually looks very, very pretty. So there's no marks on the spine. You can see that. I'm a little bit of a book nerd. Let me open to a random page. Okay, something like this, so I can show you the art. It's not to show you the story. Obviously, that's against copyright. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to show you the design. So the design, divine number 7, but let's not get into spirituality right now. There's trees and leaves and so on, and a very nice design. Obviously this lady is very artistic, or the person who did the illustrations probably very artistic. And the reading style, she describes a bit and then she goes into dialogue. She describes a bit and goes into dialogue. So let's just read a paragraph. The girls of Rose Hall became an even quieter group after that. While they had had little to say to each other before, now the silence had body and weight. It plodded behind them everywhere they went, lurked in the back of their classroom, tucked itself into bed in their rooms at night. She's obviously a very descriptive writer, which is nice. Even though Anna Maria's insistence that her parents were coming to get her had seemed less and less likely, her confidence more and more absurd. No one could blame Anna Maria for wanting to believe she didn't really belong there. So pretty dramatic there, from this writer, Anne Ursu. She is a bit dramatic, but that's not to say that that's too dramatic or anything, because I'm a life coach and I'm deep into spirituality and art and music, and I release my own music. So I would say, hey, do what you like, right? Here's an example of doing what I like. It's a book review video, but here's a bunch of crystals. So hopefully they provide you some good energy. So I applaud Anne for doing what she likes, writing it the way she wants to. It's a beautiful book about this lady. The story is about this girl called Maria, or Maria. I'm not sure how it's pronounced across the world, but there's different variations to that name. Let's just go with Maria, Maria. That girl has quite a journey in this book, something like what Harry Potter has in Harry Potter, or Jack Reacher would have in a Lee Child book. The journey is very, very interesting, and this character is always questioning things, as you can tell by the little line, the descriptor on the back, by Kirkus Reviews, a wonderful and inspiring feminist fantasy. Well, I think what they mean is it's a fantasy novel and it's also about feminism. I don't necessarily think it is a feminist's fantasy, although it might be. But judging by the last few chapters, that was pretty intense. I was not feeling so well and I read this and I nearly wanted to puke, as I think I mentioned at the start of the video. Because of the injustice and I was so disgusted at what one of the characters was doing, and I guess so was Maria, and the author Anne has put it in the book in a very, very good, in a very detailed, and in a way that would bring out your emotions and really throw you into the story. It's not one of those books where you just skim past the words, or maybe that's just me. I don't skim past any words, but it really draws you in. And I would say that the book is every bit as intense as the cover art over here. Don't let it fool you that it's like some Harry Potter thing where you're gonna like sip on butterbeer and eat chocolate while reading this and you're gonna feel good. I definitely didn't. Maybe because I'm a man, I'm not sure. There might be women out there who relish this stuff. I couldn't say couldn't speak for them, but I went a little crazy when reading this. The story is of course very beautiful, very nice, all the usual things you'd expect from a fantasy book. Very palatable and simple English because it's for kids like 8 to 12. But it did touch on some pretty strong concepts, and I would say on a positive note that if 8 to 12-year-old women and girls are reading this, and boys too, then we would have a much more educated and awakened population 10 years down the line, and that's wonderful. So I'm all for that type of stuff. I'm a spiritual life coach, so I really appreciate that from Anne. And yeah, enjoy. The link to this book on Amazon is in the YouTube description. You can purchase it from there if you like. If you do, I believe I earn like 8 cents, or is it 0.08 cents? I can't be sure. I'm not an expert on Amazon, but I do like to make YouTube videos. So check that book out and maybe buy it for your friends. Maybe you're an adult researching certain fields. I am definitely toxic behavior from different people around us. That's what I do as a life coach. And so those last few chapters were actually very invaluable for me to maybe understand the psyche of stuck people, or people who are stuck in society. And that's just my own introspection and made me go further into the field. And so if you know anyone in mental health, definitely send them this book. And if you're in mental health, you can read this book. If you're having mental health issues, maybe you can read this book, but don't read it in a bad mood, because it's going to make your bad mood worse, because it's quite intense already. So read this book when you're calm, when you're light, and yeah, because it does say the troubled girls. She wasn't kidding. Take care, guys. Enjoy. This is my first video on this channel. If you appreciated the video and you watched till here, if you could hit like, if you could subscribe, maybe turn on notifications if you want to, I would really appreciate it. And I would know whether this style of video helps people, it serves them, or it doesn't. And then I can tweak my videos accordingly. And I would really appreciate your help. So thank you so much. Take care. And bye-bye.